Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Excited to be here.
Me too.
Oh.
Today we're going to do something a little bit different.
Okay.
We're still going to be exploring Islamic scripture.
Yeah.
But we're going to be looking at it through a very specific lens.
Right.
The work of Dr. Khaled Waleed and his document, The Clear Sign.
Very cool. Very
So
cool.
have you had a chance to look at this document at all before?
I have, yeah. It's fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Dr. Waleed, he blends linguistics, history, and spiritual interpretation to kind of suggest some pretty radical reinterpretations of some really well-known figures and events in Islamic tradition.
I like it already.
Yeah, we're talking Noah, Jonah, or even the city of Jerusalem itself.
Right, and that's what I think is so interesting about this.
Yeah.
Because I think when we think about Islamic scripture,
right,
a lot of us maybe come at it with certain assumptions.
Of course, yeah.
About, what the stories mean or how they should be interpreted.
The traditional understanding.
Exactly. Right? And what I like about what Dr. Waleed is doing is he's really kind of shaking things up.
Absolutely.
And he's encouraging us to think about these stories in a new way.
He is.
So just to be clear, our mission here is not to kind of judge whether his ideas are right or wrong.
Right.
Like, we're not going to sit here and debate the merits of his arguments.
Yeah, yeah.
We're really going deep into what are his arguments? How is he building his case?
Absolutely.
What are the sources he's drawing on?
It's an intellectual adventure.
Exactly. It's like a workout for your brain and your understanding of these stories.
Totally.
So let's dive in. One of the first things that Dr. Waleed starts with is this phrase, ladenship.
Okay.
And it's in Arabic, it's al-fulk al-mashun.
Right.
And this phrase pops up in the Quran when talking about both Jonah and Noah.
Uh-huh.
Now, when you hear that phrase, laden ship, what do you picture?
Like most people I picture a boat.
Right, a big boat.
Yeah, a big boat filled with, animals.
All the animals, 2 by 2.
Yeah, that's kind of the traditional take.
Right, and that's, I think, what most of us grow up with as that kind of understanding.
For sure.
But Dr. Waleed has a very different interpretation.
He does.
He's arguing that laden ship is actually talking about the massive fortified gates of ancient cities.
Interesting.
Especially those protecting Jerusalem gates.
Yeah, so this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, it's like, wait, hold on.
Hold on.
What do you mean gates?
Yeah.
How does that fit in with Noah and Jonah?
Yeah, so what he's saying is that these gates were so complex, right?
Yeah.
They were such engineering marvels that they were laden, not with cargo, but with the weight of their own structure.
Okay.
And the responsibility of defending the city.
So he's saying the word laden is not about physical goods.
Not necessarily.
It's about the burden.
Exactly.
The weight.
Yeah, the weight of protection.
Of what those gates represent. Yeah. Okay, so this already, right off the bat, this challenges how we usually understand these Quranic narratives.
It flips it on its head.
Yeah. Totally.
But, he doesn't just throw this idea out there.
Right.
He uses linguistic and historical arguments to support this.
So let's talk about the linguistics first.
Okay.
Because he's saying that the Arabic word al-fulk, which is often translated as boat, can have a wider meaning.
It can, yeah.
It's not just limited to a boat.
Yeah, it's more like you could think of it as a structure or a container.
Okay. So it's not that he's using some obscure definition.
Right.
He's saying it's actually rooted in the language itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's flexibility there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then on top of that, he adds in these historical accounts about Jerusalem's infrastructure.
Right, because he's arguing that the city was way more advanced than we might assume.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when we think about ancient times, we have this idea that they were very primitive.
Yeah.
But actually, there was a lot of sophistication.
Absolutely.
And especially when it comes to engineering and architecture.
Yeah, for sure.
So he's bringing all of that to bear on his interpretation.
He is, yeah. He's weaving together language and history.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so compelling.
Right. And this brings up a big question.
Okay.
For anyone engaging with these stories.
Yeah.
If the laden ship isn't a literal boat, what does that mean for how we understand the journeys of Jonah and Noah?
Yeah. Does their purpose change?
Potentially.
Does the whole meaning of the story shift?
Yeah.
And that leads us right into his next idea.
Which is?
Noah's Ark.
Okay.
Again, when we think about Noah's Ark, what's the image that comes to mind?
Giant boat.
Yeah.
Animals, all the animals crammed in there 2 by 2.
Right. Yeah. Floating on this endless flood.
Yeah.
But Dr. Waleed is proposing that the ark symbolizes something way bigger. He's saying it symbolizes Jerusalem itself.
The city.
The city.
Wow.
So his argument is that Jerusalem, with its strong walls and advanced systems, think back to those gates we were just talking about, acted as a safe haven.
Right.
During some cataclysmic event.
A disaster.
Yeah, it could be a literal flood, or it could be something more metaphorical.
Yeah, a time of chaos and upheaval.
Right. So the ark is less about a physical escape.
Yeah.
And more about finding refuge.
Okay.
In a place that was built.
Yes.
With divine guidance.
So it all ties back to those sophisticated gates.
I know, it's all connected.
It is. He's building this interconnected argument.
I'm seeing the pattern here.
Yes.
I like it.
So to support this symbolic interpretation, he pulls out some specific verses from the Quran.
Give me an example.
Yeah. So for example, there's the verse that describes the ark being built with planks and nails.
Okay. I remember that one.
And he suggests that this could just as easily describe the construction of walls and gates.
Interesting.
Right.
Instead of a wooden boat.
Yeah.
It's a stone city.
Exactly.
What else?
And then there's also the verse where Noah, as he's entering the ark, says, "Praise be to Allah who has saved us from the wrongdoing people."
Yes. Yes, I remember that one.
Dr. Waleed suggests this could be about the people of Jerusalem finding safety inside their city.
Protected from whatever's happening outside.
Exactly.
So again, instead of escaping on a boat,
right?
It's about finding refuge.
In a city built with divine inspiration.
So Noah becomes less of a sea captain?
Right.
And more of a city builder? A protector?
Yeah, and the ark itself becomes the symbol of protection. Made real through human ingenuity and divine guidance.
I think that's a really cool way to look at it.
I think so too.
It's like it's not just about God doing everything.
Right.
It's about humans working with God.
Partnering.
To create something amazing.
Exactly.
So I'm seeing a pattern here.
What's that?
It seems like Dr. Waleed is really pushing us towards a less literal and more symbolic understanding of these stories.
Yeah, a deeper meaning.
Right. And it makes me wonder, does this apply to other figures too?
That's a great question, and that's exactly where Dr. Waleed takes us next.
Okay, I'm ready.
He brings us to the story of Jonah.
All right.
And specifically, he connects Jonah's journey back to Jerusalem as well. But he does it through this fascinating linguistic link. The Arabic letter Nun.
Now, this one threw me for a loop at first. I was like, a letter of the alphabet.
Right.
What's that got to do with anything?
Yeah, buckle up.
Okay.
Because this is where his system gets even more intriguing.
All right.
He proposes that the letter Nun symbolizes a kind of energy center. And these energy centers are connected to sacred sites. And guess what? One of the most powerful nun centers is located right in Jerusalem.
So even though we traditionally think of Jonah like fleeing by sea.
Right, running away.
Right?
Yeah.
Dr. Waleed is adding this whole other layer of meaning. Suggesting this deeper spiritual connection to specific places.
Yeah, like a hidden map.
It's like a secret code.
Of spiritual energy.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty wild.
It is pretty wild.
And for anyone listening who's maybe familiar with like sacred geography and other traditions, this might resonate with them.
Because it's suggesting that Jonah's journey isn't just about running from his duty, but might be intrinsically linked to this deeper energetic reality.
Right. And that maybe he was drawn to Jerusalem.
Possibly.
For a reason.
Yeah.
It wasn't just random.
Exactly.
What do you think?
I think it's fascinating. It really opens up a whole new way of looking at the story.
Right. And it makes me wonder, is there even more to uncover in these stories? Does this hidden layer of symbolism extend even further?
It's a good question, and it's one that Dr. Waleed tackles head on as he dives into a story about Idris, also known as Enoch in some traditions, and Moses.
Okay, so now we're bringing in another prophet.
We are, yeah.
Interesting.
So in this story, Idris deliberately sabotages a ship.
Sabotage?
Yes.
Hold on. I thought Idris was a good guy.
He is, but, remember, Dr. Waleed argues that this ship once again symbolizes Jerusalem.
So he's not sabotaging a literal boat.
Not necessarily.
He's sabotaging the city.
Well, in a way, yeah. He's disabling the city's defenses.
But why?
To protect it from a powerful king who is trying to seize it.
So he's taking a drastic measure.
He is.
To preserve what he sees as sacred.
Exactly.
But this is so different from how I usually think about prophets.
Right.
Like they usually just deliver God's message.
Yeah, they're more passive.
Right.
Yeah.
But here, Idris is taking action.
He is.
He's making a strategic decision.
Right, and it really makes you reconsider the methods God might use
to protect what's considered holy.
Right, because it's not always about grand miracles or pronouncements.
Sometimes it's about thinking strategically.
Yeah.
Even being a little bit sneaky.
Maybe even a little bit subversive.
Right. And I think that's really cool.
I do too.
It makes these figures feel more human.
Yeah, it makes them more relatable, more complex.
Exactly. And I have a feeling this is all building up to his most thought-provoking claim.
Oh, yeah.
You ready for this?
Hit me with it.
He says that Jerusalem itself is a grand spacecraft.
Wow.
Destined to carry the faithful to paradise.
In the future.
A spacecraft. Okay, now that's a whole new level.
It is.
Where on earth does he get that idea from?
He pulls from specific Quranic verses that talk about ascension to heaven, the division between believers and non-believers, and this notion of being carried to safety.
Okay.
So remember those verses we talked about with Noah's Ark?
Yeah.
About it being raised above the floodwaters?
No, wait.
Dr. Waleed sees those as hinting
at a future event.
Yeah, where Jerusalem itself is lifted up from earth.
Okay, so instead of a physical boat, now the city itself becomes the vessel.
Exactly.
And the faithful are the passengers.
Yeah, like a cosmic ark.
That's a powerful image.
It is.
But is it meant to be taken literally?
Yeah. That's a question we'll have to dive into a little bit later.
Okay.
But it's certainly a thought-provoking idea.
Yeah.
And it really challenges us to think about the relationship between the physical and the spiritual.
I am definitely intrigued.
Me too.
And I can't wait to hear more.
Me neither. So before we kind of got sidetracked there, we were talking about Dr. Waleed's idea of Jerusalem as this grand spacecraft.
Right. This is like a whole other level of interpretation.
It is, yeah.
So I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, does Dr. Waleed actually provide any specific evidence from the Quran to support this idea?
He does. Oh. He points to several Quranic verses, specifically ones that describe the ascension to heaven.
Okay.
The division between believers and non-believers.
Right.
And this notion of being carried to safety.
Okay, so he's pulling from different parts of the Quran to build this idea.
Exactly. Okay, give me an example.
So for example, he brings up a verse in Surah Al-Hadid.
Okay.
That talks about a wall being placed between believers and hypocrites.
Okay, I vaguely remember that one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I see the connection to Jerusalem as a spacecraft, though.
Okay, so in this verse, there's a wall.
Right.
And there's a door in this wall.
Okay.
And the door leads to mercy on one side and punishment on the other.
So how does he connect that to the spacecraft idea?
Well, he interprets this verse as a symbolic representation of the division that will happen when Jerusalem ascends.
Okay, so the wall in the verse represents the separation.
Yeah, between those who are saved and those who are left behind.
And the door symbolizes, like, the entry point.
Exactly. It's like a cosmic boarding pass.
Okay, I kind of like that.
Yes.
It's a cool way to think about it.
It is. So is there anything else that he uses from the Quran?
Yeah, he also draws on verses from Surah Al-Inshiqaq, which describes the faithful ascending through the heavens in stages.
I think I remember that one.
Yeah, it uses the phrase tabaqwan and tabaq.
Right, like layer by layer.
Yeah, exactly.
So is he saying that those layers are like literal levels of the atmosphere?
That's how he interprets it, yeah.
So he's taking these descriptions of spiritual ascension.
Right, which most scholars interpret metaphorically.
Right.
And suggesting they might be describing literal physical events.
With Jerusalem serving as the vehicle.
Exactly like a launch pad to paradise.
It's definitely making me rethink some things.
It is pretty mind-blowing.
So is this kind of interpretation common within Islamic thought?
I'd say it's not the mainstream interpretation.
Okay.
You know, you won't find this in most traditional commentaries.
Right.
But it's not completely unheard of either.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a long history of allegorical and mystical interpretations of the Quran.
Right, where scholars are trying to find the deeper meaning?
Yeah, the hidden meanings beyond the literal text.
So would you say Dr. Waleed's ideas kind of fall within that tradition?
They do.
Okay.
But he's definitely taking a more unconventional or even radical approach.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
His focus on the linguistic connections, the way he blends historical and spiritual interpretations, and of course, this idea of Jerusalem as a spacecraft.
It's definitely pushing boundaries.
For sure.
It's making me think differently about these stories that I thought I knew.
That's good. That's what we want.
So for someone like me, who's just starting to explore these ideas, what's the key takeaway? What should I be focusing on?
I think the most important thing is to remember that Dr. Waleed is asking us to look at the Quran with fresh eyes.
Okay.
He's prompting us to look beyond the surface level.
A search for the hidden depths of meaning?
Exactly.
It's like he's inviting us to become detectives of the sacred.
I like that. And whether or not you agree with his interpretations, engaging with his work encourages a deeper level of engagement with the Quran itself.
So it's not about being right or wrong.
Right.
It's about the process of exploration.
Exactly.
And maybe discovering something new about yourself.
And your understanding of the text.
It reminds us that the Quran isn't just a historical document.
Yeah.
It's a living, breathing text.
It's a conversation.
That's still unfolding.
And that can lead to some pretty amazing discoveries.
Okay, so speaking of discoveries, there's one more element of Dr. Waleed's interpretation we haven't discussed yet.
Which is?
The concept of the Holy of Holies.
Okay, yeah, that's a big one.
As the driving force behind this grand spacecraft.
This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah, this is where things start to get even more mystical.
Yeah, you could say that.
But first, for those who might not be familiar, could you give us a quick primer on what the Holy of Holies actually refers to?
Sure. So in traditional Jewish understanding, the Holy of Holies was the innermost chamber of the ancient temple in Jerusalem, a sacred space believed to be the dwelling place of God's presence.
So it's a place of immense power and holiness.
Exactly.
Okay. But how does Dr. Waleed connect that to this whole spacecraft idea?
He suggests that the Holy of Holies, specifically the rock beneath the dome of the rock, acts as a kind of central energy source.
The engine room.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
Wait, so a physical rock is the engine for this celestial journey?
That's how he sees it.
Okay, I'm having trouble picturing that.
I know it's a big concept to grasp.
It is.
He sees this rock as a conduit of divine energy. A point of connection between the heavens and the earth.
So it's like the central hub?
Yeah, the thing that makes the whole system work.
So we have Jerusalem, this ancient city, transformed into a spacecraft.
Right.
And at its core, fueling the whole thing, is this sacred rock.
Yeah.
Pulsing with divine energy.
It's like something out of a science fiction novel.
It really is.
But it's rooted in these ancient traditions and beliefs.
So does he provide any actual evidence for this claim, or is it purely symbolic?
Well, he draws on verses from the Quran that describe the creation of the heavens and the earth and the separation of light from darkness. And he suggests that these verses hint at a primordial energy that existed at the very beginning of time. And that this energy is somehow concentrated within the rock.
So he's connecting the rock's energy back to the very creation of the universe.
Exactly. He sees it as a remnant of that original creative spark.
Like a little piece of the Big Bang trapped in this rock.
You could think of it that way.
It's like he's saying that this rock contains the potential for this incredible journey to the heavens.
It encourages us to look at the world around us a little differently.
It definitely does.
Right?
It makes you wonder what other hidden depths.
Yeah, what other mysteries?
And mysteries might be concealed within seemingly ordinary objects.
Maybe the extraordinary is all around us. Just waiting to be discovered.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
That's precisely the kind of thinking that Dr. Waleed's work inspires.
Okay.
It encourages us to look for the sacred in the everyday and to be open to the possibility that the divine can manifest.
In unexpected ways.
Exactly.
It's a reminder that the journey of faith, much like the journey of a spacecraft,
is a venture into the unknown.
Beautifully put.
Thank you.
I have to admit, this whole exploration of Dr. Waleed's ideas has been a wild ride.
It has been.
We've gone from reinterpreting the laden ship to envisioning Jerusalem as a celestial vessel. Powered by the Holy of Holies.
I know. It's pretty amazing.
It's been mind-blowing.
It's a testament to the power of human imagination. And the enduring mystery of the Quran.
Its verses contain depths of meaning that we could spend lifetimes exploring.
And still not fully grasped.
And I think that exploration is what truly matters.
I agree.
Whether we agree with all of Dr. Waleed's conclusions or not.
Right.
His work pushes us to engage with these sacred texts on a deeper level.
To ask questions.
To be open to new perspectives.
And ultimately, that's what enriches our understanding.
And our connection to these ancient stories.
Absolutely.
So if you're intrigued by Dr. Waleed's ideas, I encourage you to delve deeper into his work.
Check out his document, The Clear Sign.
We'll have a link in the show notes.
And as you explore his interpretations, as well as the interpretations of other scholars.
Right, because this is just one perspective.
It is.
There are many others out there.
Keep an open mind.
Yeah.
Question your assumptions.
Embrace the mystery.
And allow yourself to be surprised by what you uncover.
Because that's the beauty of sacred texts.
Yeah.
They have the power to challenge us, to transform us.
And to lead us on a journey of discovery that can last a lifetime.
And who knows? Maybe that journey will even take us beyond the confines of this world. Yeah. Aboard that grand spacecraft of Jerusalem.
Soaring towards the unknown.
That's a beautiful image to leave us with.
I think so too.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of Dr. Khaled Waleed.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope this exploration has sparked your curiosity.
And inspired you to continue your own journey of discovery.
Within the rich tapestry of Islamic thought.
Until next time.
Keep diving deep. All right, so we're back, and we've really been through the ringer with these ideas.
We have. It's been a lot to take in.
It has. Laden ships, city gates, Jerusalem as a spaceship.
I know, right? It's pretty wild.
It is, but it's also been really exciting.
It has, yeah.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, I want to turn to you, the listener.
Yeah.
What resonated with you most in Dr. Waleed's interpretations? What made you pause and think, huh, I never considered that before?
That's a good question for me. I think one of the most striking things about his approach is this emphasis on interconnectedness.
Okay.
Like he sees these links between stories that seem completely unrelated at first.
Right, like on the surface, they're totally different.
Yeah, but he connects concepts, symbols.
Yeah.
Even letters of the alphabet.
Right, like that whole thing with the letter none.
Exactly, and it suggests this deeper underlying unity.
Yeah, it's like he's revealing a hidden pattern within the Quran, like a tapestry where every thread is woven together.
Right, with purpose and meaning.
Yeah, and he's encouraging us to become more attuned to those connections.
Yeah, to see the symbolism, the interconnectedness.
That might be hidden in plain sight.
Exactly.
And I think that's such a valuable exercise.
I agree.
For anyone engaging with sacred texts.
Because it challenges us to move beyond just a purely literal reading.
Right. Like not just taking it at face value.
Yeah. And to consider the possibility that these stories are operating on multiple levels of meaning.
That's like there's the surface level. And then there's this whole other depth.
The hidden depths.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Dr. Waleed's work really highlights that the Quran isn't just a collection of rules or historical accounts.
It's a multi-layered text.
That speaks to us on so many different levels.
Intellectually.
Spiritually.
Imaginatively.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we sometimes forget.
Yeah, we get caught up in the dogma.
We lose sight of the poetry.
The beauty.
The mystery.
The wonder.
And I think what Dr. Waleed is doing is he's bringing that back.
I agree.
He's reminding us that it's okay.
Yeah.
To engage with these texts with our imagination.
To ask questions.
To explore the metaphorical and the mystical.
Exactly.
And in doing so, we open ourselves up to these new possibilities.
It's for understanding.
Yeah.
For connection.
And I think that's really powerful.
It is.
So yeah, if you're intrigued by Dr. Waleed's ideas, check out his document, The Clear Sign.
We'll have a link in the show notes.
And remember, this is just one perspective. There are countless other scholars, commentators,
thinkers who offer different insights.
So keep exploring.
Keep learning.
Keep questioning.
And keep diving deep into the rich tapestry of Islamic thought.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
It has been a truly mind-bending journey.
It has.
And I hope you'll join us again next time.
For another adventure into the unknown.
Until then, keep searching, keep exploring, and keep the wonder alive.